Gentlemen, it is time to be looking at Mr. Shifty. I'm on the wrong menu. I should have been at the start menu here for Mr. Shifty. Mr. Shifty, if you're not familiar, is one of my favorite games the last 5 years. So I believe this came out in 2017. I'm joined by Ben Marrinan, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
Hey, how you going?
Not too bad. How are you today? Thank you for joining me on an early morning stream. This is a late day stream for you. You're based in the UK, I believe, correct?
I'm in the UK right now. I normally live in Australia.
Yeah, okay, good. I was looking up some information about this game, and it looks like you and your coworkers on Team Shifty were all based in Australia at one point. Can you let me real quick before we go into my raft of interview questions, and please let me know in Twitch or the giantbomb.com/chat channel if you have any more questions. Real quick before we go into the interview kind of style of this, I wanted to talk about Mr. Shifty. If you haven't seen this game before, I'm going to give you let's get a real quick kind of overview of the mechanics and what this game is and why I kind of like it a lot. So this is, a game in the style of Hotline Miami, I suppose would be the kind of reductive way of putting it. But as you can see here, you have the ability to morph around, punch, and that's really, it's a fairly simple kind of 3-button game for the most part. You can warp, you can punch, and the warping is obviously going to be the big kind of, and then you can also use some melee weapons here and there. But I know in my reading up on this my reading up for the stream, it seems like the common kind of denominator on people talking about influences are definitely, Hotline Miami and then Nightcrawler from X-Men. Was there anything else in there, or do you disagree with either of those, or would you say there's something else that was, kind of in the background there as well?
I think I definitely agree with Nightcrawler, obviously. Because I love teleporting. I think it's such an awesome power.
Yeah.
Right. But I think some of our biggest influence were really action movies more than games. Really.
Really.
Yeah. So thinking if you think of a Jackie Chan movie or something where he'll always be beating up 100 guys, right?
Yeah.
And then he'll use the environment to his advantage. He'll pick up a ladder and start using the ladder, to beat people up and stuff. And that was a big inspiration where we really wanted lots of things being destructible, where you would then just pick up a weapon from the environment that you destroy. Also movies like The Raid, where they just are in a building and
Oh, you got me there. That is, sorry to interrupt. The Raid is one of my... The Raid of the Raid 2 is kind of a... Now people are getting the whole Rorie experience because I talk about Mr. Shifty a lot on Twitter and I talk about the Raid a lot on Twitter. So,
oh, really?
That's funny. No, that's good to know. I was curious. Now that I'm thinking about it, we talked a little bit right before we went live, but I had a bunch of questions that I had from before when I was going to bed. Oh, you're gonna see some of this stuff. I'm sure you've played all these levels so many times that you're gonna be so frustrated here with my amateur gameplay. But
no.
And I'm gonna get so excited while playing this game too. What was I gonna say? I was really curious about in the tuning phase of this game. I know there are so many enemies that get sent your way. How fine-tuned did you get down some of these combat encounters? Because it seems like sometimes you just kind of went for as many enemies as you could on the screen. Was there down to kind of this is one person too many for this encounter, or what?
We definitely tuned things a bit where we had to keep downplaying it until it was acceptable on some levels. I don't know. I personally just having a lot of people to deal with. I guess also because of kind of that thing where I was talking about where it's always one person versus a lot and it feels overwhelming odds, right?
Yeah.
And it was always from the inception of the game we always liked being one shot death. It felt kind of important to us that you just felt so fragile and you really had to utilize teleporting and tricking people to feel really powerful. So yeah, because all the enemies are so weak and they die so easily, it kind of forced us to be able to have a lot to kind of tune it right. Although in this level, yeah, like I think the intention was you're supposed to just run away because it's
Not me.
It's truly crazy about to this level.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, so if you're reading this, there are, for the most part, most levels you have to beat everybody to get through them to open up the next door to the next little chamber. There's about 120 of these little levels spread across 18 missions, and for the most part, you do have to kill everybody to move on. But in some places, you are just supposed to run, and some of those running phases of the game are the most fun. I see a lot of guys down here. I have the Mega Plutonium. I was kind of curious if this game started out as a concept from gameplay, or if you had any kind of story based for it to begin with, or if it was just kind of purely gameplay from the beginning. Because obviously, the story is fairly, I would say, not insult anybody, but fairly comic booky, kind of a few lines here and there. Mr. Shifty never really speaks. Was it more just kind of a concept that came story, or was it a story? Was that?
It was 100% gameplay first. Like, story was very much an afterthought, right? So we started out just really liking this teleporting mechanic and just teleporting over stuff. That's where we started. And once we were experimenting with teleporting just in general, just top down kind of felt the most natural to be able to, teleport where you want to go as opposed to any other camera mode. And that's how we ended up with, like this kind of camera. And we thought with games like Hotline Miami existing, which came out a few years before this, we thought there might be a market for it to be able to have, like, we thought people might respond to it well, so that's why we kind of committed to it. We always started with gameplay first for sure, and just kind of felt what was really fun, and then took it from there.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of reception,
sorry, go on.
How did the game actually do? I was always curious about business stuff. I know it's you worked with Tiny Build. How did you find up working with your publisher?
Yeah, well, Tiny Build were great. I mean, like, thanks to them, they got us a deal on Nintendo Switch, and so Mr. Shifty was one of the first games to release on Switch ever. I think the Switch came out in April. This game came out in the Switch came out in March. This game came out in April. So it was one of the first on there, which was awesome. Which most of our sales ended up being on Switch, which was great.
How is that a challenge? I mean, I'm sure working with newly released kind of hardware is probably challenging. I never played this game on Switch. I'm on PC, but I know there were some complaints about frame rate at the later stages. Was that like a challenge for you to deal with, like a new platform like that?
100%. Like especially when a platform's so new, there were definitely challenges with it, and I think like even watching you play on PC now, it's a bit framey. So I think the performance could be a lot better, right?
Well, I have some bug fixes for you at the end of this. So the next time you patch the game, we'll talk about it. One of my favorite little things here to do, and I don't mean to get away from the question, is to knock people out of windows. I don't know if the audio is going to come through, but if you do hear this, it is one of my great joys in this game to hear them like, no! It's one of those little kind of moments that what the things that do attract me to this game are the sheer speed of the combat is obviously the first one. Like, even when you die, you are popping back up within a second, which is kind of interesting because you do some save state stuff for the environment. Because if you come back through these levels, you do have save state for all the kind of a lot of the kind of environmental damage and everything else like that. So I was kind of impressed by the speed of reloading these games. But also that little micro punch when you hit somebody, that little pause, was that something that was in the game from the beginning?
Yeah, that was pretty early on. Our gameplay programmers are really good, and like making punching and teleporting feel good is like the first thing we do. And so all those freeze frames and like making the punching feel satisfying, that's one of the first things that gets done to confirm that it's fun and to do.
Speaking of your co-workers, I don't want to intimate that this was the Ben Merriman show from front to back. I know you probably have some coworkers. Are you still working with anybody from the Team Shifty?
Yeah, totally. So the core team of Team Shifty was myself, a programmer called Motse, a programmer called Baz, and a programmer called Josh, a programmer called Baz, and an artist called Motse. And Baz went off to do other things, but the three of us, me, Motse, and Josh, have gone on to make a new game, which we're still working on right now. It's
awesome.
Called Phantom Abyss.
Phantom Abyss. You're hearing it. Is this a world premiere announcement?
No, it's been early access for over a year now.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I should have. It's really, honestly,
alright.
kind of difficult to find a lot of information on the people from Team Shifty. It doesn't seem like a lot of you tweet very much. So I do apologize. I
We
should have known
don't.
more about.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So I mean, like, we started a whole new company for this new game as well, but it's just like the core guys.
Awesome.
And so yeah, Phantom Abyss is an early access, and it's being published by Devolver Digital.
Awesome. Oh man, so a tiny build to Devolver Digital. It feels like a kind of a similar vibe in publisher. That's really cool. I will have to check that out. If you feel like pimping it, remind me at the end of the stream, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Shit. So this is the other mechanic. If you dodge a bullet when you have a full slow-mo meter, you will go slow-mo for a little bit, be able to basically infinitely do your dodging or teleporting. So the other question go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, that mechanic kind of went in pretty early as well. You know, it's really interesting looking at the game now. Like, I haven't played it in years, honestly, but it's really interesting looking at the game now and like how I would do things differently.
Yeah,
if I was working on it now, right?
Anything in particular popping out at you?
Well, I mean, like the slow-mo thing, you know, I think even at the time, we're never fully satisfied with how it works, right? You know, so
it does feel like
so,
kind of an afterthoughty, not an afterthought, but I only use it. It is a good kind of safety mechanic because some of these missions do get very long, and if you're not familiar, if you get killed at any point on a screen, you go back to the beginning. Pretty Hotline Miami, but some of these can be very, very big, and then you get the weapon kind of part of the combat where you can kind of spear people, and that's really fun. I really enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
So
the Trident is nuts.
Yeah, the Trident. You have some interesting weapons in here as well. I was curious if there was ever any iteration of gameplay where you did get to use guns, or was this always purely going to be melee?
Never. I guess I guess kind of the line was like, what would Jackie Chan use?
Okay.
And Trident's really kind of threading that line a bit too finely. But
yeah. I love the ragdoll and people get stuck to the wall with these and just have to flop around.
Yeah. Yeah, but and guns were always off the table. It just didn't feel like that kind of game. Yeah.
Did you ever have any kind of pressure from marketing or anything like that to explore different things than what were you doing? Or marketing or publishing?
I think they were always excited about the stuff that we were doing. They definitely didn't pressure any gameplay decisions a bit. They would suggest things, but yeah. The people that I've worked with are always super respectful about their developers, in my experience. I think they did want a different solution to the slow-mo bar. I mean, like if you watch the slow-mo bar right now, you know, I guess the intention behind it is we want players to be really aggressive, right? Because with this teleporting mechanic, it's super easy to be really defensive and just run away the whole time. And we really wanted to encourage a very aggressive style of play where you just get in there and attack people all the time. Oh man, look at that.
That's what I was kind of curious about as well. If there was ever any kind of idea of making this more, it's a really interesting game because you get through level 16 and then level 17 is the machine, and that becomes a very kind of much more puzzly kind of experience. You are kind of having to time like guard routes and everything like that. And I was curious if there was ever an iteration of the game that was more about that, or was it always like just go action from the beginning?
I think our favorite levels always tended to be go action, and so we tended to go towards that, right? I will say I am quite unsatisfied with the ending of the game. Like I would say things definitely got rushed towards the end, and I do wish we had more time to really polish things a lot more. I think that was one of the biggest lessons we learned after releasing the game. It's because prior to Mr. Shifty, we had always worked on mobile games. So
I heard Fruit
Ninja
was mentioned in there as a
So I was the lead designer on Fruit Ninja for a few years prior to making Mr. Shifty, and our experience from phone games is, you know, like in the past we'd always made these games that were designed to be played forever, right, and not just like a set experience. And our lesson from Mr. Shifty was like, game reviewers really like to play to the end, which wasn't something that I've really experienced before. And I think in hindsight, I think we could have done a much better job with the ending, because I felt like the first hour was pretty solid in the game. and then I do feel the quality drops a little bit as you get towards the end.
I liked
Is
like
my
the
kind of
increasing.
feeling.
Yeah, the increasing challenge is really interesting, and especially like mission 16 and 17. I think we'll probably pop into here since I'm done with this one. We'll show you a little bit of how hard the game can really get and how crazy it can be. I think 16 and 17 will be fantastic for that. Real quick, I was curious about the story. It was obviously this is the mansion of, or the building of Commissioner Stone, I believe, and you have a sidekick called Nix. Was this all kind of just thrown together at the end, or was it ever something that was? I mean, you have some really interesting ideas here in the story. It is pretty simple, but I was really curious, especially about all the Greek statuary in the high rise. Is that something that Commissioner Stone or Chairman Stone would be a big fan of, like Greek gods, or was this kind of just something that kind of came together as art came together?
I think just like Greek stuff kind of interests us quite a bit, or on me. Like I really like Greek mythology, and so that kind of style, and we like the idea of having these opulent places inside of this tower, right? I guess I just like the idea of expensive stuff breaking, right? And just like and so like this level right here, right? Very much reminds me of the lobby in the Matrix, right? Where everything's all
definitely. Oh my god!
And there's pillars everywhere, and then you just leave behind a mess, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
speaking of messes, I just had the last grenade to deal with. One of the things I do really enjoy about the game is the destructibility. Like all these walls can be destroyed with enough gunfire.
Yes.
You find that your cover is kind of constantly disappearing as you go. These guys are going to be firing grenades that are going to blow up the whole thing. This is
and I think that was a big pillar, right? Where like once again going back to that Matrix lobby scene, right? Is it all starts out pristine, and then they leave in the elevator, and it's just like a mess, right? And that's kind of what we wanted in every level, is you would enter this pristine place and just leave total destruction in your wake.
Was it difficult to keep the environmental data when you move through missions? Because I know in this one, especially in some of these, you go back through the entire thing on the way out, and then you do kind of keep all the destruction that you've done. I was really fascinated if that was something that was difficult to do, or because especially with the combined of the load times on these missions, it feels like it would be a big kind of burden. But I was curious if they could speak to that at all.
It was definitely a much bigger problem and much harder. Well, much harder than I expected. I thought it'd be easy, and my programmers are telling me no, we have to do all this saving, all sorts of saving, all sorts of things to make this work. And I was adamant, we really need this. We really need to keep the destruction. And I had planned to have a lot more backtracking through levels. The game turned out a bit more linear than I had originally planned, but very much the intention was you would be able to go through all these destructive places a lot more than what you even do right now.
Oh boy!
I think it feels really satisfying to see.
It does.
The effects of all the destruction that you caused, right?
Oh my god! I jumped right onto a grenade. So if you're watching this is kind of the way things go. And we were speaking about the difficulty before. I find this game really just fun to play moment to moment. So even when I get a bad, oh my god, oh shit. Even when you get a kind of a bad break here, and to be fair, I'm not like the world's best player of Mr. Shifty, but even when you get this bad kind of break and then you have to go back and do it again, I still find it really fun to do compared to some games that have, what I might call bad checkpointing. I really find this kind of stuff right here to just be, I like seeing stuff blow up. So it doesn't bother me too much. I'm trying to get these grenades, but the problem is these machine gun guys really want to shoot me as well. The grenades can be thrown back at people, but then you get so enjoy my buffoonery while we try to beat this mission here. This is probably gonna get people mad at games journalists for playing games. To be fair, this game, no difficulty settings, but it is fairly difficult, but also a game that I don't feel a lot of people, once they get the mechanics down, would necessarily have a tremendously hard time beating. There is a lot of replaying, but don't be fooled by my inability to beat this room here. I'm gonna take it more seriously now. Oh shit, no I'm not. I'm getting stuck to the wall. I like the fact that they can shoot each other too.
Yeah. That was always fun. I always want to find more scenarios where that could happen. Where basically you're tricking people into shooting each other or killing themselves, blowing each other up like that, and so on. One of my biggest regrets was not having difficulty options for the game, I think that would have done a lot, because it is tuned to be pretty difficult at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think just some options to make things a bit easier on certain people would have gone a long way, I think.
And let me know if you have any questions in chat. I'm at giantbomb.com/chat and also Twitch chat as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you had. If you play Mr. Shifty, or if you have any questions about game development. Oh, I didn't time that right. Some of these things are a little tricky, and I feel really bad that we're going to be stuck on the screen. If I can't get by the screen again in a couple tries, I will try to do another stage, like something a little simpler. So like, play and talk at the same time. It's always challenging.
This game is much harder than I remember. Like, yeah,
it's tough.
It's been a while since I've played it, but man, those machine gun guys are no joke.
Oh god, no, and the grenade guys too. And now I ran out of my teleport juice. I was also curious about the teleport juice tuning as well, because you only have 5 pips, and it's really, really quick to reload if you don't use it for just like half a second. But if you do use all 5, you have a good 3. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a good long 4 seconds of not being able to teleport. Was that ever something that you tuned up and down during development to make it easier or harder or anything like that?
Yeah, we tuned it a lot. You know, so as you saw, as you said, they regenerate super quick if you don't use all of them, right? Mm-hmm. And once again, we always wanted things to stay very aggressive, right? But I guess we didn't want you to just like spam it, where you just like always teleporting all the time, right? And so that's why it's quite a big punishment if you expend all of them too fast. Where we never wanted the combat to feel spammy. We just like bam, 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 you know. We always wanted things to feel purposeful, I guess, while still having like a good number of teleports to really like exploit things and go crazy.
Excellent.
We always talked about the idea of, you know, like starting with 3, then unlocking a 4th, unlocking a 5th.
Oh, okay.
But it just never felt right to us at the time. You know, we still wanted to encourage you to just teleport quite a few times because I don't know, it just felt right.
That's good. I mean, I could see a million ways this game could be more complicated. Like, okay, here I gotta time these guys to come in. Turn around, then I gotta sneak over to this thing without getting them too mad at me, and then I can blow. So if you're not familiar with this game, this is one of these power generators. The field over the thing will make it so that I cannot warp, and so I got to shit, and now I have a staff that I can use and kill everybody, and we'll move on. Oh boy, ooh, wow,
nice.
That was thank you. Game Pass wasn't I have a question from chat actually. Game Pass wasn't a thing when this released. Curious to know how development might have differed with the possibility of selling to Game Pass. I'm still kind of curious about your publisher. Kind of, was this you've had industry experience before that? Did you find it difficult to get Tiny Build on board, or was it something that you had multiple kind of suitors, or how did it work in 2017?
In 2017, we had a lot of interest. Honestly, when the game was super early in development, we got offers from several publishers, and Tiny Build's the one that we chose at the time. I think it's definitely harder now to get a publisher than it was back then. At least, like I was telling you this the other day, just briefly. Like I looked at our pitch for Mr. Shifty, and like I wouldn't have pitched it in its current state today, compared to the pitch that we did back in 2015, I guess, is when we 2016 is when we would have pitched it.
Was there ever talk about blood? I was curious.
I think there was talk about blood, but the discussion was always we never felt like blood had a place. Mm-hmm. I guess once again going back to that Jackie Chan benchmark, you know, it felt too graphic if there was blood. I think we did try it, you know, because blood added to the messiness of everything, right? But it just felt too off tone, I guess, you know, because it's all just like cartoon, like pang 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 as you're punching people, right? And it's not, you know, it's not like bone breaking, snapping necks and stuff, right? It's just like it's just like beating people up, right? You know, it's not going super hardcore on them.
There are other games that kind of have this aesthetic. I don't know if you've ever tried what was that black and white card-based fighting game? Oh man, I'm gonna kill myself for not remembering the title. Somebody in chat probably knows. They must be fighting or something like that. There was a kind of a card-based action game that had a lot of kung fu action moves in it. It kind of had that bloodless kind of look to it as too. It was all black and white. It was really good. But this is one of the missions I was trying to play through some of this last night on just for my own sake and trying to get through, because hey, no cloud save support here, Ben. I'm a little shocked. I don't know if that was a thing in 2017, but I know I played this game before, but it was a real pleasure to go back and go through the entire thing again. I haven't finished it yet because I was kind of saving some stuff for the stream. Fights in tight spaces was the one I was thinking of. Thank you, Chad.
I think, yeah, I'm actually amazed you said no cloud save support. I think it's much easier to do now than it was back when we made this. Not that it was hard back then. I just know we had a really tight schedule.
No worries. I was mostly ragging on you. It's all right.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Here come the missiles. Yeah.
Oh, I love the missiles.
This one is this one supposed to be invisible? This rocket launcher?
Yes.
This is part of his machine going haywire?
Yes.
Okay.
They're
so
just
if you're not
spawn in. Yeah, there's no enemy shooting missiles.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, it's always a weird thing when you first get here and there's missiles approaching out of nowhere. If you're not familiar with the game's storyline, Commissioner Stone has taken over your ability to warp, and he has given it to all of his henchmen, and you are about to go destroy the machine that causes that, and as you do that, everything kind of goes a little haywire. Chairman Stone, just a classic Bond villain kind of dude, always piping up in your ear. I do like how Nyx has that moment where she's like, "I think I'm falling for you, Mr. Shifty," and he just says nothing because he's totally mute. It's a lot of kind of B-movie inspired storyline stuff, and I really do dig it for what it is. And these mother pieces are generally pretty easy to dodge, but I'm trying to talk and concentrate at the same time. Let me take my look at questions here real quick and see if I have anything else. Anything else for you? Oh my goodness. Why? Okay, let's see now here. I have a number of questions that I think I've gotten to most of them here so far. How did you all meet, and how did you start making games?
Yeah, so
Was
we
it a
all met.
professional thing?
Yeah. So we all used to work at the same company prior to working on Mr. Shifty, and then we all kind of independently left, and then decided to get together and make a game. You know, I guess we all love games, and we all just really wanted to make a game. You know, kind of on our terms, and just do whatever we wanted to do. For Mr. Shifty, like, we did this thing which I wouldn't recommend doing, but it's what we did at the time. Is we all kind of wrote down all of our favorite games on a whiteboard, and like our favorite moments in games, and like what our ideal game looked like, and we all just tried to make like the ideal game that kind of matched all of our tastes combined. Where like Baz, one of the guys we worked. Oh my god, Baz, one of the guys we worked with, is like very, very into like, you know, cheesy 80s action movies, and you know, I've always just wanted to make a teleporting game in general, or like, you know, loved the Nightcrawler scene from X-Men 2.
Yeah.
And just loved the idea of just like one person causing tons of havoc towards everyone.
This missile is not giving up on me. No. Oh my god. Oh no. That was so close. At least I know once you get that arrow, you know that you can just warp through and get through the.
You know what's safe. Yeah.
Okay, here is this one, and I have to get to the end of this portion of this thing to get this shield down. And I ran out of teleport juice, and I got shot by the head. It's a really good mixture of a variety of enemies, I find. Like the grenade people are a real fun one to pop up a little bit later. You have at least, I think, gosh, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 maybe, distinct kind of enemies that you kind of mix up at the same time. I really do like the grenade guys because you can catch your grenades and throw them back. But it does take a little bit of finesse when you are doing it in the middle of a big gunfight, especially. And there's explosive barrels around too. Oh, nope. Shit. Shooby-dooby-doo. Okay, let's go.
Looking at the game
There we go,
again,
there.
man. This game's great. I love this game.
It's really fun. I really do enjoy it a lot. People always think I'm being a little over enthusiastic about. It is. I want to say unkindly, but it is kind of a B game, and you can tell in terms of budget and story. But it's also just really self-contained. Like it's a couple hours if you breeze through it. It's not super long. But it is just super fun to play. Sit down.
I'm really proud of this game. I mean, so we made this whole thing, just 4 of us, in 14 months from start to finish. From like inception to releasing the game, which is a super tight turnaround for this kind of game. I do think we could have polished it a lot more if you had an extra 6 months or something. Especially for this final chapter, like I did want to introduce. You said like there's a few enemy types. I would like more enemy types or like more puzzly type levels. I think could use some better balancing, or at least difficulty options. But in general, I mean, I'm watching you play this game right now, and
it's fun. I have a really good time with it.
I really enjoyed making this game.
Speaking of, I just have to commiserate. I worked on Fallout New Vegas for a couple of about 6 months at Obsidian when I was there. And speaking of games that were forced to be done a little too quickly and could have used 6 more months, I think that is a classic example here. Let me take a look real quick. I think I have one more question from chat. Oh, now the rocket launcher guys come through. I really do love this mechanic of picking up sticky bombs and throwing them at people and letting them blow up later. That was always it's one of my favorite things to do in this game. Did you ever think about doing like a sandbox or like VR mission kind of add-on if you had the time, just like do more missions that were kind of non-contained from the storyline, extra hard or extra easy or anything like that?
We didn't talk about someone like that, but I do think something like that would be cool. I think doing some like more like procedural stuff would be pretty doable as well, just to get some cool challenges going on.
Too bold. This specific room right here does get tricky a lot because there are a lot of enemies and a lot will start warping in too. So it's one of the things that is kind of can be a little overwhelming sometimes is when the enemies do have the ability to start warping in. They will start warping. Oh boy, yeah, that blew up. They'll start. Oh my god, that dude just kind of appeared out of nowhere. So they will start just kind of appearing in greater numbers. In the background without your necessarily knowledge or awareness of where they are, and it becomes kind of a complicating factor. But it does make you put you on the edge of your seat. I don't mean to indulge you.
Yeah, no, totally. Here, I mean, I think if I worked on this game now, looking at it, I think I would definitely tone down the number of enemies and kind of increase what you had to do to kill them. Like it's really fun, like killing guys in 2 hits, but I think we could have had more enemies that take a few more hits to take down, or like more creative ways to kill, right? I think that's what I would do now if I was to work on this game again.
Yeah. Well, there's never say never. I mean, like I said, I got some bug fixes for you for the next patch, and we can tighten up the graphics on level 3. And real quick, I have one more question from chat. It sounds this is from R Wools. Phantom Abyss was scheduled to go to 1.0 in 2022. Do you have any update on release timing or anything like that? Or are you still in early access? I guess with that one.
Yeah, I can answer that question. So we are dropping a new update in October. That's coming out on Game Pass and dropping a new update on Steam in October. Final day TBD, but it will definitely be October. And for 1.0, it has been delayed until early 2023. But it's still being worked on. We're working on 1.0 as we speak. There's a lot of cool stuff coming.
Oh god!
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'm super pumped about our update coming out next month. It's like a totally different game, and it's by far my favorite way to play it. So I hope you like it.
So real quick before we go here, I'm going to give you a few bug fixes on PC. In a window, sometimes if I Alt F4, the game will not close all the way, and I have to go to Task Manager to turn it off. Also, I've noticed that if I'm on a Bluetooth Xbox controller, it does seem to lose connection to my Bluetooth every once in a while, and I have to plug in to the back of I have to plug in the controller to a wire to get it to be steady. So next time we patch a game, anytime, no huge hurry, but maybe we can work on this.
Yeah,
I feel really
that's
shitty
really,
now.
that's
That
really
was
strange.
mostly a joke. Just in terms of, I'm sure there are no more patches coming. Please do not take that too insultingly. I was just trying to rag at you a little bit. Trust me, like I said, I worked on Fallout New Vegas in a way, and he who is without sin cast the first stone.
No, yeah,
Mr. Shifty's good.
You get it. You get it. I mean, like, I think it's a big thing most people don't realize is that whenever you have complaints about a game, like I'd say 99% of the time, the developers know, they understand.
Yeah,
it's always time and money, right? That's the reason why a game has things you don't like.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to say, this game is still. I hadn't played it in a couple years since when we started talking like a month ago about doing the stream. I still find this game quite a jazz to play. I really do enjoy it a lot. Hopefully, if you haven't played it yet and you're curious about it, it's available on Switch. Available, I believe it came out to Xbox and PlayStation, right, as well.
Yeah. Oh no, it's just. Oh no, I did. It did. Sorry. Yeah, it did. Yes.
Pretty sure I read that.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a porting team that did that for us. But yeah, it's on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, all of them. It is a blast to play through. I like looking at it again. I've got to play it again.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like I said, if you're watching the stream and you're at all curious about it, this was my 7th best game of 2017. It's right up there with. I think I told you what I ranked over it, but I did really enjoy it a lot.
Oh no, yeah. So you linked the article to me, and I was flabbergasted. I think you put it above Prey and Divinity: Original Sin 2, which is just insane.
Oh yeah, I have issues with the Original Sin 2, which we'll get into on another stream. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to make the comments too mad at me about that instead of about Mr. Shifty. So I think I have somebody bugging me to get to a meeting, but I really do appreciate you joining me, Ben. And if you want to pimp anything right now, what was it? Phantom Abyss. Yeah. Phantom Abyss. Okay. I should have done more research. I apologize. Should have known that.
No, not at all, man. It's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, it's a different company. You weren't to know. But yeah,
like I said,
that's our next game.
Tough to find on Twitter, so I was it's hard to even. Mr. Shifty doesn't return too much anymore. What is Phantom Abyss about?
It's about
what kind of game is it?
So it's first person. It's asynchronous multiplayer. So you enter temples and you have to like grab a relic. Kind of like Indiana Jones, and then escape.
I think I've seen this game,
but you only get one chance to do it, and it's full of all the phantoms of people that like tried that temple before you and died and didn't do it.
I'm 100%. I played this, and I did not realize it was from developers of one of my favorite games, Mr. Shifty. I'll have to give that another whirl. I really did enjoy the little bits I played of it, but the game sounds distinctive enough that I'm pretty sure I have definitely gone through that experience. This is one of my later levels. Like once you pop all the way through here, you do realize that you do have to go back and kill all those people. And then once you get down here, I forget what happens because I think they're all just sitting around waiting for you to come back and kill them. But sometimes it's easier to warp by people and let them reset and then go back and kill them later. So, well, Ben, again, thank you so much for joining me here on this early morning stream. Phantom Abyss is coming along in early access. Please check it out. And if you haven't tried Mr. Shifty, this is a little bit late game, but it's still around, still very fun to play. I highly recommend it. I'm Matthew Rorie, and thank you to Jan for producing. And thank you to Ben. You have anything else you want to say before we go?
Just thanks to you for reaching out about the game. Like I haven't spoken about it in a while now, so I really appreciate it. And thanks for chatting.
No worries. I know people on the site know I love this game a lot, so I wanted to do a little bit of part to show it off to people who might not know about it. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, everybody in chat. We'll be back with your normally scheduled. These guys disappeared and came back, and that's really weird, but we will be back with the Bombcast in a couple hours. But again, thank you, Ben. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks.